Welcome to the Data Hall YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to work with a string variable. So what we are mainly concerned in this video is that how do we clean up or extract the relevant data or make certain changes in a string variable. So this is particularly related to string variables, and we are going to look into tons of options, tons of commands and functions basically that work with regards to with the string data. So let's import some data, and this data set is basically contains certain names. And what we are going to do is we are going to work through these names and try to clean them. So obviously the idea would just be to demonstrate the commands based on certain data. So just to so that when I work with certain command to see what changes it made, I just created a name2 variable. And this is the original data which would remain over here just for us to see what change did our command made. So let's first work with the trim functions. So mainly when we download certain data from internet, or we have copy pasted certain data from PDF. So normally what would happen is that it would contain certain unwanted characters, like there would be certain trailing spaces or leading blank spaces, or there would be multiple spaces between words, or there would be certain kind of character that you'd want to clean up. But that character is mainly related to spaces. So anything, any white spaces that you want to remove, you would have to work with trim function. So we can see there are lots of white spaces. We can see that there are certain white spaces at the end of the text. Then in certain cases there are white spaces in the start. Then there are certain cases where there is white space in the middle of the text, multiple white spaces. So this is not just one white space. If you can look it over here, there are multiple white spaces. So we're going to use trim function. So let's start with the first function, which is ltrim, which would remove the leading blanks. So any blanks that comes at the start of the text. So although we didn't had any, so it didn't removed any leading blank. But if I try to incorporate them, so although it doesn't look like there are any leading spaces, but if you click over here, you would see that there are certain leading spaces over here with this first name. So if I execute this command had been executed, and it says that one change had been made. You would see that although there were leading spaces, but now they had been removed. Then we might have a trailing blank spaces that is at the end of the string. So you can see that they had been removed. Although they, in these two specific cases, the trailing space had not been removed. We will look over it in a while. So if you want to remove all the leading and trailing spaces, any space before the start of the string and any space after this end of the string, then you can just use the trim. So this would just work in one direction, and this would work in both the direction. It would remove the leading as well as trailing blank spaces. But as I have used these two commands, so it wouldn't make any changes, right? So zero real changes were made. Then we have str trim, which is same as trim, but now mainly all these trim functions, all the string functions come with a prefix of string. So this is same as trim. So mainly you would find like for a function there is a function called lower. It comes as lower and as str lower. So they both work the same way, right? Then there is itrim, which stands for iterative or internal blanks. So it would remove the consecutive internal blanks. So specifically this case over here contains a lot of internal blanks. And if I execute this, you would see that not in just this case, there were other cases as well. Like this one, there were 2 blank spaces in between, although like this was the first and this was the second. Then we also have multiple blank spaces over here, but they had been removed. So it would just leave a single blank space. Now we are left with these 2 names, and sometimes what happens is that when you download data from, when you copy paste, not just download data, but copy paste data from PDF or from some web page, then there are certain Unicode that would come along with. So Unicode are not are alphabetical or numerical variable, they are certain characters. So for that we for each function we have a U prefix for that function, right? So we used strltrim, right? We used ltrim, but we also have U strltrim, right? Similarly, we used strtrim and we also have a ustrtrim. So that U represents that those functions are for Unicode, and from Stata 14 onwards there is Unicode support in Stata. So these are certain Unicode characters, and if I would execute them, so you would notice that they had been removed and cleared. So sometimes it's important to note that sometimes there are Unicode characters and you would be trying different trim commands, it would not be removed. Then you might use the Unicode trim commands. Okay, so that was trimming, removing the leading and trailing spaces or internal spaces. Now let's move to extract specific subtext from string. So there are certain string like these names, and we just want to extract certain specific data from this whole string, not the whole name, but rather specific text from it. So for that we use substr, substring. We write, the syntax is we write, we give it a name of the variable or certain text, and then we specify the starting number of the character. So if it is the 3rd character, then it would start from this dot, and then how many number of characters that you want to extract. Okay, so let's generate a variable called first, and we extract a text from the name variable and anything starting from the 3rd character, and then we need 5 characters. So if we execute this, it would generate this first variable. So starting with the 3rd character, which is R, so RAJUD, so we have 5 characters, right? So this would extract characters, but it would not extract specific words. So if you want to extract specific words, then you would have to use the word function. So let's generate a new variable called getWord and extract the first word from the name variable. So remember, it would extract the first word, right? So how does Stata distinguish between word and character? So anything between space or before space or anything after space is called, so anything separated by space is called a word. So in this case, the space is separating these 2 words. So we wanted the first word, so it just extracted that first word. Whereas in this case, the first word is Mr., right? So it just extracted that for us. We can also generate length of the variable, right? So how many characters are there in that that string? For that we use strlen or length, right? So remember, do not get confused with because you are going to see 2 kinds of functions. One would be length and one would be strn. So strn is the updation in the commands. So you can use both, but but recently there had been changes, and all these string commands starts with the str prefix. So we use strlen, and it gives us the number of characters that that specific string had. You can also count number of words. For that we use word count, and it would tell us how many number of words are there. So you can see that there are 3 words because words are separated by space. Okay, let's move forward. We can remove or change certain part of the string, and for that we use subin string. We give it a name of the string variable, then we would inform it that what do we want to change, what do we want to change it with, and which specific do you want to change all of those characters, or just the first one or the second one, etc. So we use subin string. So replace name with subin string. Right. Let's rather generate. Let's not change our variable. So generate name 1 and subin string. So what we want is we take the names. If there is Ahmed, AHMAD, we want it to be removed with a dot, and we want each iteration of it to be replaced, right? So what it did is that there was Ahmed, AHMAD, not with the ed, and it replaced with a dot. So what if we do it like this? Let's just replace a with all a's, and let's just replace the first one, right? What would happen? So anywhere just with the first a, if it founds the first a, then it would replace it with multiple a's. So this is the string that it would want to replace it, and this is what it would replace it with. If we have a dot over here rather than a 1 or 2, then it would replace all a's with whatever character that we want it to be replaced it with. So let me just clear some clutter over here. Let me remove all these variables. So we clear some space. Okay. So if I do it like this, you would see that anywhere where there was a, it was replaced with the character that we wanted it to be replaced with. So, okay. We can also find out the position of the string. So generate position. We want to find the position of Mr., right? So it would give us the position, right? In this case, there are no Mr., so it would give us 0 when the character is not found. Similarly, in this case, it says that Mr. is at the first position, right? Let me try to use some other character. So let's use A and find the position of A. You would see that A appears at 4th position. It would just find the first iteration. In the second name, A appears as the second character. And what if I didn't provided any character to search its position for? Then it would just give us 1 rather than 0. So do remember that what we were searching, the logic is that what we were searching for was nothing, and it found nothing in all of those names. So that's the logic of it, if that makes sense, right? So let me drop all these 3 variables. Okay, so next we can also change the case of the text. So generate upper, that would convert all these characters into its uppercase, alphabets into its uppercase. We're gonna have them in lowercase, or we can have them in proper case, right? And proper case is where each first alphabet of the each word is capitalized, like you can compare this over here. Then we can also generate plural, and what plural would do is if there is a noun or a verb, and it would convert it into plural form. In this case, it would not make sense to generate plural of the words of the names, but anyhow you can use that. You can also convert string to name, and it is useful if you want to generate variable names based on these strings. So what it would do is it would convert strings to the variable name format. So remember, if we want to name a variable, then we cannot use spaces. We cannot use special characters. So it would replace those spaces with underscore or any special characters with underscore. So now if you want to programmatically use these strings to name certain variables, then you can use them. Okay, let's clear this up. We can also try to match a word. So let's see if Mr. is matched in or not in the name or not. So it says not, but although we already had Mr. because what we told us that it should be exactly just this character. What we needed it to what we want is that if there is anything after the Mr. character, then that's fine. Just search whether there is Mr. MR or not. Or we can just search, let's just say J. So if we just do J, or rather capital, because they are in capital now, let's call it match 3. Okay, and what it does is that it would generate 0, although there is J over here, and the reason is that even if we included static after it, then that would also not work. Right, it would not work because what we are saying is that it should be J and then any character after it, but we need it can be in middle or at the start, right? So this is how it would work, and now it tells us that J is over here, right? Similarly, we can do for M. If it goes like this, we know that M is over here in the start of these names. So we can match a string as well. We can split this string into multiple variables. So split the name variable and generate, and we provide the stub. So it would add a numerical order to this n, right? So it would be n1, n2, n3. So what it did is it divided this, splitted this name into different variables, right? Based on space, or we can use certain other parsing character, let's just say dot. So first we would have to delete all these variables. Okay, so if I want to parse using different character rather than space, I want dot or any other character, then it would parse, it would split the text based on that specific character. We can also limit it to number of variables. So let's just say in first case it generated 3 variables, but if we wanted it to limit it to maximum of 2 variables, then that can also be achieved using the limit function, limit option. In first case, although there are 3 words, but it just gave us 2 variables because there was a limit on that. You can also, there are tons of other options in the split. In the split command. split function. And those are we can generate that we have discussed pass limit. Then we can do D string, like if we are splitting it based on space or certain other character, and we get a number column or number variable, and then we can use D string option that would automatically convert that string into a numeric. There is also a D string command. You can do this in two steps, like first do the split and then do the D string, but whichever works good. So thanks for watching this video, and do subscribe the channel and do hit the bell icon.